Hi, I'm Matt Hernandez, and this is Book Chat with You. In this and almost every episode, I try to make this be a conversation with you about literature. In today's episode, we're going to look at The Girls in Their Summer Dresses by Erwin Shaw. I like this story. I'm not sure whether or not to like Michael. This story is a very short story. This printed version is, 5 pages, I believe? 8 pages. Still, it's double spaced and whatnot. In this story, we just have 2 characters, Michael and his wife, Frances. They say that he's nearing middle-aged, so what would that make him? 39, I might guess? Story would have came out, around the 80s or earlier? And Michael and his wife, Frances, they're just walking through New York. His wife gets mad at him several times because she says that he keeps staring at other ladies and such. And, I mean, is she right to be mad? Is she wrong to be mad? Now, that's really all the story is. They talk about going to see the Stevensons. The story implies that they're part of some pretty big social groups and stuff like that. They met at a dinner party, some of the events they want to go to, just what their lifestyle is. Of course, Michael seems to be drinking quite a bit in the story, and there's always kind of a reference, oh, let's go get a drink, oh, let's go get a drink, and then she says, oh, let's go get a drink. And, there's a bit of back and forth with them. She might think that it's too early to drink. Then they start to argue. Then he wants to go for a drink. Okay, let me go over a few of these lines in here. So as soon as the story starts, he's looking at a lady, and his wife says, "Look out," Frances says, as they crossed 8th Street, "you'll break your neck." So, what does that kind of imply? Lady passes by, you just keep looking back. She says it's like he's going to break his neck. He says it's not the sort of complexion you see in New York. Excuse me. He says complexion is an excuse. It might just be an excuse, perhaps, right? Then it says about going to see the Stevensons, drinking their scotch or drinking our scotch. We only see each other in bed. Well, I guess they're sort of talk about they're going to hang out with people, but that Frances feels that maybe her and her husband are so busy that they only see each other in bed. So she kind of says, oh, let's have a date together. He says, let me arrange a program. Frances says, he planned Sunday in New York for a young couple with money to throw around. Well, plan for a young couple. Says they've been together 5 years. He's nearing middle age, right? Here. As she's kind of talking about their plan for the day, he is checking out a lady. And so the sight he sees is this, and I'm reading off the story. He took his eyes off the hatless girl with the dark hair, cut dancer style, like a helmet, who was walking past him with the self-conscious strength and grace dancers have. She was walking without a coat and looked very solid and strong, and her belly was flat like a boy's under her skirt, and her hips swung boldly because she was a dancer, and also because she knew Michael was looking at her. She smiled a little to herself and then went past, and Michael noticed all these things before he looked back at his wife. I don't know, is he looking too much? Maybe. I don't know. One common expression people use is one look is, it's normal. The second look is that the problem. And so his wife then tells him, or maybe you'd rather walk up and down Fifth Avenue. He replies, not at all. And then she says he looks at every damn woman in the city of New York. And he says, only the pretty ones. So, as we go down though, I mean, one reason I really want to share the story, and I didn't want to quite lead with this, is that for the second time in a long time, I hosted an English corner here in China. And yesterday hosting one would probably be the last time I would host one for a very long time. And I brought this story. It's not the first time, it's the second time, really. Years ago, I'd also shared this story. And it's quite fascinating because, I kind of asked everybody, are you married? Are you single? Are you divorced? Are you engaged? And about half the people married, 2 divorced. And what kind of got me was that, I didn't get as strong of a sense that the men or that the women would be as quickly jealous like Frances is in the story. And I would think the answer is yes. I would think that the answer would be yes. I mean, if I kind of recall correctly, I kind of felt that my wife was kind of mad I was sharing this story years ago because, my mind is so filled, according to her, at like looking at ladies, that to share the story is to live whatever little like fantasy in one's own mind. I guess maybe that belief would come whenever one thinks about the content that maybe women might read versus men. I don't know what anybody reads really. I mean, I'm taking these classes online. I know what I'm reading for that. I know that I'm trying to share short stories. But if you kind of get, if I'm using a very broad generalization stereotype to say if women are reading romance novels or something, I don't know. But it was quite fascinating because two of the people there, like two of the women especially, it's like, oh, they wouldn't care. One of them was like, I might just look at ladies with my husband, you know? And then as you look at the story, the wife, Frances, she wants to maybe look at the football game. It's like, well, what about you guys? Would your spouse watch a game with you? Does your spouse enjoy sports? So one woman there, she had said that she likes boxing. But what about her husband? How he likes football? Well, they wouldn't really watch it together, maybe, or something. Or if they did, I guess they'd watch it for the other, I guess. So looking here, though, it says, or Michael says to Francis, I'm older now. I'm a man getting near middle age, putting on a little fat and still loving to walk along Fifth Avenue at 3 o'clock in the east side of the street between 15th and 57th Streets. They're all out then, making believe they're shopping in their fur coats and their crazy hats, everything all concentrated all from all over the world into 8 blocks. The best furs, the best clothes, the handsomest women out to spend money and feel good about it, looking coldly at you and making you believe they're not looking at you as you go past. Okay, and then he kind of continues a few lines down. I like the girls on 44th Street at lunchtime. The actresses all dressed up on nothing a week, talking to the good-looking boys, wearing themselves out, being young and vivacious outside Sardi's, waiting for producers to look at them. I like the salesgirls in Macy's, paying attention to you first because you're a man, leaving lady customers waiting, flirting with you over socks and books and phonograph needles. I got all this stuff accumulated in me because I've been thinking about it for 10 years and now you've asked for it and here it is. So does this guy not have people to express some of this stuff to? I gotta say though, without an outlet for it, then his wife is asking, then he's saying, and it's hurting her feelings. And so at one point during this, and maybe I should have highlighted it, but she keeps pushing him. And so he says, I want you and I want them too. And I try to remember this sometimes in my own life, is to like say a thought, but I have to be cognizant of the statement I say to what statement might be given back based on that statement, I mean, if you go up to somebody and you say, I hate you, what are the limited statements that somebody might say back based off of that? So, but isn't there a certain degree that people watching is fun? Like here in China, sometimes you could just see people just like cutting people's hair outside. I don't think you'd ever see that in the US. And I heard they're really cheap and somebody will just do, and if you go there and you wait there and you're the next in line and they'll just cut your hair really fast. I don't know. I hate getting my hair cut. So I don't know. I saw a guy getting his head shaved like that just like yesterday. So Michael tells his wife, you're beautiful, Michael said, meaning him. I'm good for you, Francis said, pleading. I've made a good wife, a good housekeeper, a good friend, and I'd do any damn thing for you. Michael said, I know. And then she says, you want to be free. And he says, sometimes I do. But, isn't that always the case, though? So I'm really back and forth on how much I could or couldn't like Michael here. Because part of this might just be a natural impulse, I'm kind of free, but I don't want to be free. I want to be with my family. They're back home. I'll be back to Las Vegas in a few weeks and all that stuff. But I don't know. Maybe many people, you're just around your own spouse all the time. You're just like, I want to be free. But you can never say that, right? You just don't say it, right? I think, maybe. But then this very last line, too, is also trying to create a bit of redemption for him. It says, she got up from the table and walked across the room toward the telephone. Michael watched her walk, thinking, what a pretty girl. What nice legs. So he checks out his wife all the same. Despite them having been together for years, he's not tired of looking at her. To him, she's still beautiful. And I had a lot of fun sharing this story with others yesterday. I kind of think I should have dressed a bit better and stuff like that. But yeah, it was tons of fun. Just tons of fun. And I'm gonna miss those times sharing stories with people like that. So that's also why I have this podcast here because, it's very great. It's very important to do these kinds of things. I don't really know what else to say about this story at the moment. It's a very short story, and it does provide for a very lively debate. So if you were able to be there and you hosted something, you read the story with others, you get a group of 10 people together, and if two of those people or four of those people are married, well, married and with their spouse having came, then you can have some very interesting discussions with the story. The story will really bring that out of people. And I try to bring some of that out of people yesterday, but I think some a bit of a cultural difference too, right? Some cultural differences and stuff like that. I mean, one of the stories says that it takes place in New York and being here in China. I mean, most people here in this city are just Han Chinese. You're not seeing a huge ethnic background. But then again, when I went to a restaurant with two of those people afterwards, and after we left the restaurant, one guy had said that the waiter just kept endlessly staring at me. And it's like, I don't know. I guess some people do that, huh? So I don't know. I'm rambling a bit, but have a wonderful day. And I'd love to hear what you think. I will post a PDF of the story below. And there's also video of this on YouTube as well, of doing the whole story basically with Jeff Bridges. So thank you very much for your time. Bye.